All right, let's get started. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight to our 2026 annual membership meeting. We appreciate you coming out. I know the weather isn't great, but we appreciate that you came out and help support us anyway. So great to see so many friends and neighbors here tonight. So we thank you. We thank you for that. It's also great to see our vendors and exhibitors here. It's great to have their support and their participation. We certainly appreciate that. And how about this new merch? Did anybody get some t-shirts, some hats? Anything new? Anybody? All right, so thank you. That's coming out. I'd also like to thank Brian Stone. Are you here? Brian's has been our custodian for the past several years, getting this all set up. We could not do this without him. So, Brian, I want you to come on up. We've got an OLA hat for you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, once again, we have a great lineup of speakers this evening, but before we get to that, we're going to do a pledge to the flag, so would you please rise? Very good. This is Calvin Schatz. He's going to lead us in the pledge for tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, Calvin. All right, we're going to go through our, we have a great lineup of speakers, but we have a little bit of business to conduct first. So we're going to go through our business meeting, and we'll start with our treasurer, Bob Walsick, who will give us a financial report. Bob?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, let's the report. We'll pull the mic about. Checking account balance is $340.61. The savings account is $31,448.47. So the total is $31,789.08. But I compare that with what we had on hand last year at the annual meeting, it's $36,755.59. So we're down about $5,000. You might wonder what we spend our money on, and just taking a look at what we spent for printing, mailing, newsletters, bulletin, we spent almost $20,000 next year, $19,813. Bruce Chance will be coming up next, I think, to talk about membership, but we've got somewhere around, usually around 2,000 members. And we've been collecting $8, and I've had a couple of people come up to me tonight and say, you ought to raise the dues. Somebody should get them up there to 20. We're talking about it as a board, giving some thought to raising the dues to $10. We want to make it attractive for people to be members. Okay. So we haven't made any decisions yet. If you want to let us know what you think, please do. But that's where we are. I'm pretty good shape financially.
Stamps are still going up, Bob.
What's that?
Stamps are gonna keep going up.
Well, they probably will. But you know, if you don't need things mailed to you, it's the option to have things emailed. So that would help cut down that some of the expenses. That's my report.
Yeah, $10 would be the best $12 you've ever spent, so. Next is our report, from our membership director, Bruce John.
Sure you can hear me, because I'm sure.
Great.
So as Bob said, we tended to be around 2,000 members. Last year, we ended at 2,119, which is pretty standard. One thing that could keep us from raising the dues, and one thing that Tony Bufa would always say is that every one of you out there and every one of our members sign up one more person, we double our membership, so that would take care of that, but thank you guys for being members of the OLA.
Thanks, Bruce. We also welcome these evenings our elected officials who have decided to participate. So we want to welcome Kelly Miller from Bill Barclay's office. So it's great that she made the trip down here to see what the OLA is all about. Next up, Director Rick Polisante will guide us through the election process.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see such a group here. So many people. I'm in charge of elections, I guess, and this is a chance for our membership to vote. And directors are nominated, go through a nominating committee in the OLA board, and the nominating committee advances the slate. The OLA board approves them, most people come up for a vote to the membership. I'd like to do it as a group. There's 8, I think there's 8 directors that are nominated, and they're nominated in 3-year terms. I will read their names: Bill Alexander, Brian Evans, Mike Beretta, Amy Harrington, Hetherington, Raleigh Harnack, Dr. Ed Mills, George Reck, and Bruce Schatz. And I'd like to see a show of hands for favor of those individuals for directors. Is anybody seriously opposed? Then they're carried, and they'll be our new directors. Thanks very much.
Excuse me. Thanks, Rick. At this point, I'd like to have all the directors stand, please. It's been a great team. It's been great working with you. We get a lot done here. All right, next up, please welcome Lance Bella, our president, who will give us a brief report on this past year.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Let me take a moment and thank you all for many dedicated members that are the backbone of the OLA. Your many voices help this organization be effective, and we need to reach out to our elected officials on important matters concerning this state. As John already said, I'd like to thank Pat Snyder and the annual meeting committee for putting this event together tonight. We have, like to thank our visitors out in the hallway and folks that helped us with, door prizes and such. The kayak that's over here. I'd like to thank Total USA. Something's quacking up here.
That's okay.
It's gone
now.
Total USA will help us out before gift cards to Bass Pro. Runnings of Clay donated our kayak. And Mickey's Bait Tackle, Bad River Tackle, MTO Tackle, B Hammer Tackle, Mike's Sonata Lake Bacon Tackle, Ash 90 Bacon Tackle and Rating. Thanks again. We already had the board of directors stand, but we have a new director that just recently came on with us, Heidi Tompkins. On a sad note, last week, we lost Greg Keener, a longtime OLA member and a director, to cancer. We will miss Greg's energy and passion on this board. And we're so very grateful for all many of his commitments he made to Night Lake and the OLA. So our lead story is spring bulletin. The OLA is concerned with the smallmouth bass population on Night Lake. As we currently enjoy a healthy walleye and perch population, the smallmouth bass populations continue to be lower. The OLA is working closely with Cornell Biological Field Station researchers in New York State DEC to zero in on the why. See what to do next to help smallmouth bass population recover. As we embark on this journey, we will definitely keep you posted. As we all are, the OLA is passionate about access for anglers and recreation seekers on Oneida Lake. Last year, when the Lewis Point property located at the east end on the South Shore was listed for sale, we received numerous emails inquiring about what happens if that property is sold, about ice fishing access. So the OLA board reached out to PPC and asked them the same question. Tonight, I have to announce collaboration between the Oneida Lake Association, Town of Lenox, folks in Madison County, New York State DEC, and the Central New York Land Trust. We have successfully worked out a plan for the town of Lenox to purchase the property, create a park on the site that would allow fishing access, public recreation, and habitat preservation. The town's application is currently under review, and the grant to fund for the acquisition is expected to be announced by this fall. The OLA would like to especially thank New York State DEC for doing a terrific job of moving this project and idea forward. Thank you so much. Another thing that affected a lot of our members who live around the lake this spring was the high water that they all experienced. United Lake levels peaked at 0.5 feet above flood stage. And after winter, they had an extremely high snowpack. Winter due to a too high snowpack followed by a spring of heavy rains. It was nowhere near as bad as the flooding in 93 and 94, but still worse than we normally see. I appreciate that our friends at the New York State Canal Corp did absolutely everything they could to let the water out of the lake as fast as possible, including having control gates at the Cognoy Dam fully open until December 1st, right up to now. The lake levels are a factor of natural forces, not man-made controls. And there was just simply too much snow and rain for the river downstream of the lake to be able to drain out all the water necessary without lake levels rising. We are going to be inquiring to DEC to see if there's any way to provide relief in the form of permitting assistance for our members who had some property damage along their shoreline. And we appreciate that the Canal Corporation is doing the most they can possibly do to shorten the duration of the flood, even as Mother Nature swung this incredible event this way. On the screen there, we see a new website. The Oneida Lake Association was kicked off this week, maybe last week. OLA website committee directed by the committee directed by Director Amy Hetherington built a brand new website. It recently went live, and all I can say is a great job. I recommend everybody to go check it out. It has got current events slide. It's got all the mission, not mission statement, but our papers that we send out to elected folks. Just a great vibe. Thank you, Amy, for. Association.org. It certainly has been a pleasure to serve as your president this past year. My term comes to an end. Now I'd like to introduce you, our president-elect, Amy Hetherington.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here on this rainy evening. It's great to see so many of you here. I want to start by thanking Lance for his leadership. He's made the OLA stronger, and not only Lance, but all of our wonderful OLA directors. And not only the directors, but the people we have here tonight. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as one of the priorities I have as your incoming president. Thank you, Lance. I have big footsteps to follow, but I'll try to do my best. I thought, I'd introduce myself. My connection to the lakes runs deep. I grew up in Auburn, so the Finger Lakes region. I studied at Cornell, so I spent a lot of time in school in Ithaca. And I spent 8 years at the Cornell Biological Field Station, working with Lars and Kristen and Tom and many of the people, Tony, that you'll see here, and especially Ed here tonight. So, I have a background studying Oneida Lake from a professional perspective, but I also now live in Cleveland. I'm right here, so I'm happy to be a local. So when I say the lake matters to me, it matters from both a personal and a professional perspective. So as incoming OLA president, I want to focus on 3 things. As I mentioned, people. In my business capacity, I do talent management. So to me, people really are what makes a lot of things work, and especially something like the OLA. It's not just the directors, but it's all of you. So I hope, the more you can get involved, even if it's just reaching out and contacting us about issues or things you're hearing, as directors, we can be more effective if you're telling us what the issues are, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what's working, what's not. So please contact us. And one of the great ways is through the website, but also our contact information is there. So I believe the email address is president@OneidaLakeAssociation.org. But you might not remember that, so feel free to go to the website and just click on the link and let us know what you're hearing. So membership, increasing our membership, not only sustaining, but increasing. And, we have a lot of great people here, obviously, who love the lake. But, hopefully you'll reach out to other people, who have an interest in the lake or want to learn more. So broadening our scope. So not just, the people that are right on the shoreline. I think it's important. Oneida Lake has a huge watershed. So getting the people that are maybe a little bit more removed, involved in the lake, because their activities impact the lake. It's anglers, it's boaters, it's all sorts of people that use the lake in different ways. So that's one of my goals, is to broaden the membership base and increase membership. The second area that I'd like to focus on is stakeholder engagement. So I mentioned some of the people who care about the lake, the types of people, but I think that is really informing and educating people about the lake in different capacities. So, the lake is great. We use it in a number of different ways, But it has challenges, and so, there's things like sedimentation is a constant challenge. Invasive species, regulations, whether that be from the state or federal. These are constant challenges that we'll face, and we need to be at the table. So, again, keeping us as directors informed, and we need to be a voice. So I think that's, one of the other areas that I'll focus on. And the third is fundraising. And, I don't want to sound like, oh, we want your money, but good work takes resources. We all know that. Like the comment about stamps are going to go up, costs are always going up. So, we have so many people are generous in this community. So thank you. So, we have funds, but we need to maintain those funds. So, thinking about ways, fundraising events that we can get people involved, that you're getting some benefit from the work that we're doing. So those are 3 organizational priorities that really help with like efficiency for an organization or effectiveness. But I want to assure you that we're going to continue the work that we do with water level management, regulations, wetlands, like all of that type of work, public access, which you heard about Lewis Point. So land conservation, all of those are important topics, and we'll continue to stay on top of those. So stay engaged, speak up, talk to us, and not, this happens because of all of you. And so I just want to thank you, and I'm looking forward to being president and working with all of you together so we can accomplish great things. Thank you.
I certainly look forward to working with Amy as our new president. As you heard, I'm sure she'll do a terrific job. I also mentioned at the beginning that how much we appreciate our elected officials coming to see. Brian Miller is here. So Brian, thank you for coming out because you are today's. It's now my great pleasure to announce that beginning this year, the OLA Scholarship Program will now be called the Tony Bufa Memorial Scholarship. We truly appreciate the many donations we've received to support these scholarship awards. For example, Marcia Kavalowski, who is here tonight, has been extremely generous in donating funds to honor her father, to late father Eugene Kavalowski. So thank you, Marcia. Appreciate it. As many of you know, Don Birdie has developed a sticker program to honor Tony Bufa. The sale of his stickers, which he had out at the front table, has gone a long way to fund these scholarships. So thank you, Don. Is Don here? There's also a group out there, a group of anglers, fishermen, and women actually, who call themselves the Fools. Are there any fools here tonight? Anybody in that group? I mean, that's for real. But anyway, we appreciate the Fools. They pulled their money. They've also given a healthy donation in honor of Tony as well. So we thank them. So at this point, I want to invite Patricia Cyril Rehill, who's going to make the awards.
Thanks, Sean. It is my honor and privilege this year to present our scholarship winners and they are here. So Ty Williams and Katie, come on up. For both ESF students, staying local and please get engaged with the organization. First up in memory of President Kavalowski, and again, wonderful to meet you, Marcia. Captain Bufa. Environmental field and specifically the United Lake Association. Congratulations to you both. Good luck with college studies. Who represent our future leaders.
I can assure you, two of the finest kids that we've ever met. Okay, so we're also pleased here to have Ted Butha, and he would like to say a few words about his late father, so we welcome Ted.
Set on the wrong side. I was not sure what to expect tonight, but this is lovely. I only knew this as like a thing my dad was leaving to go do while I stayed home and stole his beer, so. Okay. Yeah, for those that don't know me, I'm Ted Butha. I'm Tony Butha's son. I was asked to say a few quick words. Those of you that were at his funeral last year got a full earful from me. And what I said then summed up my relationship with him. And so many of the things that I admired about him outside of the fishing world, his commitment as an educator. So this is very heartening that you're paying the scholarship after him. His love of chess and love of his wife, my mom, and most of all, the absolutely wonderful experience that I had in having him as a dad. So I'll limit the rest of my thoughts to more relevant to Oneida Lake, since that's our subject at hand. This lake obviously meant the world to him. He built and spent 50 years running his charter business here. He made his home a 5-minute walk from the water and only a 5-minute drive to Fremont Marine towards Bolas. His love of being on the lake never wavered. I don't have a single memory of him ever not wanting to do a charter or ever not wanting to do 2 in a day if he had the opportunity. And whenever I would come and visit in the summer, he'd find an additional time to take me and my friends out, even if it was the busiest time of the year. I've lived on the other side of the country for the last 20 years. We catch up on the phone once or twice a month, usually. He'd update with me with stories about the lake every time we spoke. He'd tell me about new and old customers and friends, the state of the fishery, what new gear he bought. I would then tell him about like guitar pedals and things. We would both pretend that we knew what the other one was talking about. So it was very, very nice. And he would frequently mention the Oneida Lake Association. And I'll say it seriously, being a part of this organization was very, very important to him. And I know that you all already know that, but I just wanted to say it out loud. I know he loved emceeing this every year and helping put it together. It was very, very important to him. And when you guys awarded him Conservationist of the Year last year, it was deeply important to him. It was a very bright moment in a very dark time. And I saw him sort of, I saw like a lot of love in his eyes when that happened. And the last 6 months when I was staying with him while he was sick, it was so heartening to see many of you help out, call, write, and just sort of be there for him. It honestly gives me like a fairly greater faith in people than I had made. I showed up, and it meant everything to him. His friendship is like the most important thing to him. He collected new friends his entire life, which is wild. I've never seen anything like it. So thank you to all of you that knew him. I think it's very rare and incredibly special to find something in this world that you're so passionate about, so good at, and get to make a living and a life out of that thing. And my dad poured his affability, his precise mind, his humor, his dedication into his time on Oneida Lake and on this earth. And I'm really glad that many of you here got to share some of that time with him and experience the infectious joy that he had both in the fishing and life. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ted. That was wonderful. Now, please welcome past President Matt Snyder, who will present this year's Conservationist of the Year award.
Wow. I don't think I can go until the hair on my arm stands down. Ted, you're an impossible act to follow, but thank you for the bottom of my heart for carrying on Dad's legacy of love for others, and as you said, fishing for friends throughout his whole life. We appreciate you. So I see we're a little ahead of schedule. I'm gonna keep us that way. This year's honoree for the Conservationist of the Year Award. Unfortunately, it's not with us tonight. I learned after we set the agenda and printed them that his flight didn't connect, so we'll recognize him at a later time. And fully promote and publicize that so that we can, let him know we won and let you all know that he won and for what. Before I leave the stage, I would just like to say a few words of my own about Tony, and thank everybody here in the audience. Who was here at last year's meeting? Could I get a show of hands, please? So we took the really unusual step last year because we knew Tony was in ill health and was in the great care that the great treatment that he had access to. So we announced him as Conservationist of the Year last year, but asked everybody in this room to keep that as a secret. And I'm really proud and pleased that everybody here managed to do that, because I was greatly privileged to be one of the constant stream of visitors in and out of Tony's room at the hospital, where he was with his son Ted, and be able to present him with the Conservationist of the Year Award in a very private family setting. And have it be a total surprise to Tony. So everybody here kept that secret for 6 more days after we had our meeting last year. Thank you, because it meant a great deal to Tony, as Ted said. And I consider it one of the great privileges of my life ever, period, to have been able to present that to him. So thank you all very much.
Wow. Okay, now to the presentations that we've all been looking forward to. We'll begin with a very special guest tonight. You have known him as the mayor of the city of Syracuse, where he did a terrific job. He is now the newly appointed director of the Canal Corporation, so we were pleased that he can join us tonight. Please welcome Director Ben Walsh.
Good evening. We got a PowerPoint we're gonna bring up, so as we do, just want to say I'm really excited to be here with all of you. One of the fun things about this job that I've experienced for the past 4 months is that I get to travel around, all throughout upstate New York. I was in Utica earlier today, and here in Central Square tonight. I was actually in Central Square last week, cross game. So getting to spend time throughout the canal system, and it's really just a lot of fun to learn about a community that I've lived in my entire life and a region I've lived in my entire life. And to get to know a lot of great people. So with that, title of my presentation is Establishing Canal Cred. Now, I don't know that that was an actual term before I started using it, but I think hopefully you get the idea as mayor, it's important for me to have street cred. As the new canals director, it's important for me to have canal cred. So I'm going to do my best to continue to learn it this evening. So really, this is just an opportunity to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about canals, and hopefully we'll have a lot more opportunities to get to know each other. But as you heard, I'm about 3 months in, and before that, I spent the past 8 years serving as mayor of the city of Syracuse. So you might ask, what business do you have running the New York State Canal Corporation after serving as mayor? And what do you know about the canal system? And I would say it's a lot more than I did 3 months ago. I have a lot more still to learn. So again, you all are the subject matter experts as it relates to OLA, so I look forward to learning a lot from you. Before we get into the presentation, I do just want to give a quick update. You heard from a number of folks already about the lake levels. It's something that I've been made painfully aware of, certainly as it relates to Oneida Lake, but throughout both the Oswego River Basin and the Mohawk River Basin. I can give you an update. I spoke with our hydrologist today. According to our readings, the current level as of today is 371.1, and that's barge canal data, which I didn't know existed before 3 months ago. I'm sure you all did, but we're at 371.1 right now. As you heard from Lance, we've had the Cottonwood Dam, all 7 Tainter gates wide open since December, and we know that still didn't get you all the relief that you needed right after the snow melt and the significant rain that we received, especially earlier this month. Of course, we're receiving some rain tonight and tomorrow. We'll see what happens there. But interestingly, and I think it was a great kind of eye opener for me as to how delicate the balance is. But for this entire month, what we've heard from you all and stakeholders sitting around Niagara Lake is we need to get the water down. Well, just so happens we got a few calls yesterday that says, you know what, can you get the water up a little bit? We got a fishing tournament coming up, and so you know, we do try to be very responsive within the rule term. So as of the past 2 days, we've actually closed 6 out of the 7 gates completely, and we have one open just about a foot. So you should start to notice the difference, but of course, with the rain coming, becomes a problem that we're going to continue to adjust it. But you know, we have experts in the fields. Again, our hydrologist is a real pro. We have the rule curve to follow, but we understand that, you know, make a change in one part of the system and we see an impact in the other. As elevations have gone down on Niagara Lake, if you know anybody around Cross Lake, you'll know many folks are still dealing with a lot of water. So again, it's a fluid process, no pun intended, and we're going to continue to listen as well as use the data to inform our process going forward. Also, just want to recognize I have a couple of my colleagues here from the Canal Corporation, Joelle and Pat. I don't see you, but you can raise your hand right back here. So Joelle Murray Karsten, hopefully some of you know Joelle. She is our government community relations manager for the Central New York region. So she is our person on the ground developing relationships. I know she's had a chance to develop relationships with some of the board, and hopefully you'll see and hear a lot from Joelle throughout. And also we have Pat Acey here. Pat is our transportation maintenance engineer, working on the Lysander shop. So Pat, thank you for being with us as well. You'll hear more about it. I've got a real short video, but I've been blown away by the level of expertise that we have in canals, and really lucky to be a part of it and learning a lot from it. All right, so we're going to do this. Okay, all right. So again, a little bit about me. Some of you may have saw me on the news a little bit, occupational hazard over the past 8 years, but you know, while running the New York Canal Corporation and being mayor seemingly are very different, the thread throughout my entire career has been public service, and it's not by coincidence. I'm sure some of you have had an opportunity to cross paths with my father, Jim Walsh, over the years, who served on the Syracuse County Council as well as in Congress for 20 years. And maybe my grandfather, William Walsh. So you see those two guys right there marching. That was in 1988 in the 88 in the St. Patrick's parade in Syracuse. The little guy with the hat on is me. Fast forward to last year, I had the honor of being the Grand Marshal of the parade. But again, it's in the blood. As much as I tried to deny it for a long time, there's a reason why I do this work. And again, as much as politics is part of it, it's the service that's at the root of it. Water has also been a constant thread throughout my life. The picture you see on the bottom right is some of my extended family. My dad is one of 7 Walshes. We grew up on Otisco Lake. My parents live on Otisco Lake right now. So that's where that photo was taken. So some of my best years, and you'll see some photos, were spent on Otisco Lake. And I have a passion for water. I think we all know how lucky and blessed we are to be surrounded by so much water. On the top, you see my family. That was actually taken as I was running for mayor. So that's my daughter, Bree, at the Erie Canal Museum. She's now 16 and getting ready to go to a prom this weekend, which I'm still struggling with. And on the right is my wife, Lindsay, again, Brina, and our younger daughter, Gabby, and our dog, Molly, who's now 8.5. He's a 130-pound Newfoundland, so he's a good boy. Public service, water, family, those are again threads that have connected me in my career throughout. Some pictures, I know we have a lot of anglers here, again, establishing my canal credits. So the first picture there, me a number of years ago, out to my dad. My dad's a much better fisherman than I am, but he still is a man that he let me reel in that walleye. For Otisco, that's big walleyes. I know it's a little hard to see, but that was an exciting time for the both of us. Out on our Boston rallies, you'll see the rest of the family. Up on the right-hand corner, you see a tiger muskie. Of course, something Otisco's known a little bit more for, and then that's us at the bottom with some bass. Fast forward, I still like to get out and fish. This is an annual trip that me and my buddies take up on Ontario. Again, it's just that you can all appreciate the value, especially at that time when I was mayor, just being able to get out, get on the water, be with friends, catch some fish, and just have a good time. That fishing gene has been continued to be passed down, so that's my daughter Gabby again, who was officially caught the fishing bug. On the left, that was her first fish she ever caught out of the ice, and it happened to be a tiger muskie, which she was desperately wanting to catch. These days, kids with their phones and their algorithms, she just kept seeing tiger muskie and pike showing up on her phone. And we were out there for about 5 minutes. She pulled out, albeit a small tiger muskie, and said, "Okay, Dad, Grandpa, I'm done," and went into the camp. And throws out there for the rest of the day, did not catch one kid. On the right-hand side is Danny again with a nice bass. That's actually Hiawatha Lake. That's right by my house in the city of Syracuse, up around Dog Park. I grew up there during when the city put out fishing derbies. Those ended more than a decade ago when I was elected, actually probably 20 years ago at this point. When I was elected, I vowed to bring them back. And last year we brought back the fishing derby after many years, and Gabby definitely got one of the trophies. So water, again, important part of my professional career. Accessibility, that is something you're going to hear us talk a lot about at canals. We want to make sure that our waterways and the canal system are accessible to everyone. People of different abilities, different people of different socioeconomic backgrounds. There are people that I talk to every day who have grown up in this region that know next to nothing about the canal system. And so it's important that we help bring people and connect people to the water. As mayor, I did that in a number of ways. We obviously put in a couple of new canoe and kayak launches. On the left is in Syracuse Harbor. You can see the new aquarium going up. It's much farther along now. And on the right is Onondaga Creek, which runs south to the north throughout the middle of the city. And again, it's significant investments along that waterway as well. Watershed protection. I saw my friend Mark Berger here. Mark and I worked a lot on Skinny Lake watershed protection and water quality. Again, critical role for me as mayor. Skinny Lake is our municipal water source. We did a lot of work with the Skinny Lake Association. I can't tell you how impressed and proud I am by seeing this turnout. I can tell you firsthand that having an active, engaged lake association is the most significant, impactful thing that you can do as people that care for the lake. I can tell you, the Skinny Lake Association had a great working relationship. They were not always pleased with our efforts, but we always maintained an open line of communication. Again, it was that pushing that they did that ultimately helped to get things done. So I value that engagement. We did a lot. We have a boat washing station there now, so I visited there. We did some aquatic invasive species work, dealing with some of the aquatic invasives. So again, these are things that obviously we do a lot of. Canals coming throughout Oneida Lake as well. And then back home in my backyard, that is actually with my friends in just off of Hiawatha Lake, I'm around another park, cleaning out some phragmites that filled in a pond where we had a little waterfall. So again, not afraid to get my hands dirty and wet when I need to. So what have I been doing over the past few months? I have been traveling around the canal system, and it has been a blast. I tell my wife I feel like I get to go on field trips every day. So I committed to visiting all 8 sections of the canal system before the beginning of the navigation season, which Mother Nature permitting will be May 15th. I've now done that, and again, have been blown away by the professionalism, the passion, the skill set that our workers have. Another term that I've been using is canal craft. The work that they do every day, you don't learn, there's nowhere they teach them. You can't go to trade school and learn that. You can't go to a regular school and learn that. You learn that on the job. You're maintaining a 200-year-old piece of infrastructure. And while there's a lot of practices and methods that have been used for centuries, there are very innovative things happening every day, whether it's the use of robotics and drones and other things to maintain this incredible system. Again, I've just been really blown away by our workforce, and I'm proud to work with them. This is a video of one of my site visits, real quick, just to give you a sense of what I'm talking about. Oops, let's see. We're here on the Shed Lake and Section. This is part of my efforts over the past month that I've been on the job to visit every section before the beginning of navigation season. From my visits to the locks to the maintenance shops, the common theme is everybody's working incredibly hard. They are very passionate about what they do. They're focused. They know that this is the time that we get the system ready to go for navigation season. We're all working towards that common goal. And it's really just a privilege to be part of the team and to learn along the way. I think what I've been most impressed by and amazed by is the engineering that went into building the system and the skill and the craftsmanship that goes into maintaining this system. It truly is something very special and unique to the New York State Canal System. And again, I think that's where a lot of the pride comes from.
Cool job, right? All right, I know we want to keep you on schedule, so I'm just gonna run over a few things real quick. This is not an inexpensive proposition. Our capital needs are in the billions of dollars. And as you can see, we did significant investment from the New York Power Authority. Canal Corporation is a subsidiary of the Power Authority. We've got a great partnership with the Power Authority. They make significant investments in both operations and maintenance. The past few years, Governor Hochul and legislature, I want to thank our assemblymen here, have added an additional $50 million to the state budget to support the work. So annually, give or take, we've got about $100 million capital budget. Again, you do the math, there's a lot that needs to be done, so we need to continue to secure additional resources, but we also want to be good stewards of those resources as we make those investments. We also want to make investments in the community. We offer $1 million in grants every year, and we encourage you to get on our website and look at grant opportunities that can help assist with work. Some key dates just to keep an eye out for as navigation season launches. Throughout the system, opening days in Waterford out to the east, and we'll have boats lined up that are coming up from the south that are going to be making their way through the system, and we'll be going on before you know it. We have a Medina Triennial out west, a multi-day art exhibit that is really world class, and again, trying to bring new audiences as well as folks that live right in the area to the canal system. We have the Albany Symphony that travels throughout the system and has free concerts. Waterford, one in Rome, not too far from here, and the Tonawanda out west. A Psych of the Year Canal, I'm sure folks have seen people biking along the canal system July 11th, 2018. Back to Buffalo tour, hopefully some of you got a glimpse of the Seneca Chief, the replica boat that traveled as part of the bicentennial celebration last year from Buffalo to New York City. It's going to be coming back this year in the month of June, and it is making 16 port stops along the way. So keep your eye out for that as well. That's all I've got. Again, I'm going to try to stick around and I'm happy to answer questions afterwards. Otherwise, we'll keep the program going. But thank you. Really looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you for your involvement.
Thank you, Director Walsh. Hi, Joel.
Hi, Joel. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you. Okay, let's get back on track here. Next up is Bill Evans, Director of the Fish Hatchery in Constantia. He will give you an update on this year's walleye run. Bill?
All right, thank you, John. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I really appreciate the OLA bringing me back. Ben, appreciate you and everyone at the Canal Corps because, if you know, we use Scrap Creek to get to an lake, and if it's too low, we can't get there. You know, there's a little bit of a panic, early spring, some years, the level's too low, but I'm only contacted the canal a couple of times. We've been at it for 13 years now. A couple of times over that, and they're, oh yeah, we're on it. They're already a step ahead, so they do a great job. So appreciate that. Kind of similar to most years that I give this presentation. Information on the hatchery here. The goal there is that we stock waters across New York State. All walleye projects in New York State come from our hatchery. You go on the next slide there, Matt. Basic information first. I do. Is it the middle button?
Yes, sir.
Nice. So there's the walleye run dates over the last several years. Pretty much on time this year. Nothing really too spectacular there. Collection numbers of the past 3 years, doing the, I've been at the hatchery since 2000, the hatchery system since 93, so. The numbers kind of meld together over the decades. So I like to keep the last few years up here. Number of walleye collected, we got a decent number this year compared to the other number of years past. Females used were a little low on the low end for females this year, and as a result, we got a substantial number of fewer eggs this year. But most of that is, most of the fishermen will know that there's a lot of smaller fish out there. And Cornell's been telling us this, that there's a large influx of young adults into the population. We certainly saw that throughout the entirety of the walleye run this year. The number that nets set, we've got, we set 7 nets in some years, so it's 7. I wanted to set more initially, but the weather, I mean, I like to always flat calm every day, perfectly sunny. Going last night too, so we were able to 7 out one day before it got too rough. We were able to set a couple more nets a day later, 2 days later. And then realizing we're getting these small fish, and seeing day after day of those less eggs for female, see that a little bit. We set more nets and then a couple more nets. As you can see, we haven't set 13 nets in, I don't even remember how many years, it's been a number of years. So we tried our best to get all that we could. And then it's just going through the process. Fish are brought in and sorted, males and females. The females are further sorted. Right fish that will be taking, the eggs will be taken that day. And the hard females will be set in a tank to be checked the following day. Then the egg stripping station. 2-to-1 ratio males to females. We set the nets plenty early. We get plenty of male fish this year. Years past, if we don't get the nets in early enough, we have a tough time getting that 2-to-1 ratio. We can reuse the males because they regenerate the milk, so this hasn't been an issue, but it's nice not to have to toss them back in the tanks and reuse them. Let them get out of the creek, get the weights. So as I mentioned, we saw a lot of small females. Most obvious on the right, that's a female, typical size that we saw this year. Usually I have, hey, here's a nice fish, years ago in that 13-pound giant female. We usually have some decent fish, and the majority of fish were that small. Dipping the fish out of the tank, you would think that the males were the females this year, and the females were the male. It was very bizarre. And again, we've been hearing this in class summer all winter. There's a lot of small fish out there. Okay, maybe they're catching the males, or else saying there's a big year class. I think they need to use a stronger word than big. But it's a picture on the left there. The larger fish in the middle is kind of, we've been accustomed to over the last several years. And it's a dark picture, I apologize, but the other fish in there are substantially smaller than that one you normally see in the hatchery. So then the eggs go down to the treatment station where mixed with tannic acid to remove that adhesive layer. So they can circulate in the jars. From there, they're added to those larger tubs with some iodine to disinfect the eggs. And they water hardened for an hour. And this is the graph I try to update each year, the number of eggs per female. There's a lot of factors that affect this, but again, we just saw a substantially large number of smaller females this year. So our number was like 44,000 eggs per female. We typically see 55 to 65,000 eggs per female. The average was 44,700, I believe. We saw numbers as low as 34,000 eggs per female, which is substantial. When you're doing 3,000 to 4,000 fish, you're 10,000 to 15,000 eggs per fish. It adds up real quick. And we were lucky to have Cornell doing their surgery this year. They had their return tags. I'm sure they appreciate that, keep that telemetry study going. So they had to do some surgery behind the scenes, put those tags into a few fish. Of course, then we had the egg incubation. And because of those small females, we weren't able to get the total number of eggs that I'd like to have gotten. My target was 260 this year. We got 153 million, so 260 million eggs was the target. 153 million is what we ended up getting. We have 12 the egg racks. We use 7 this year. We have 60 jars, 12 at 720 jars. We could put eggs into. We only filled up 370 this year. Quite low. The picture is just depicting the flow rates. Each one of those valves flows 1 or 2 gallons a minute. Water flows, it's not much, because there's so much piping under the ground. It's natural water, we have stuff building up, growing in the pipes. So we try to flush those at the beginning of the season, but you can't flush them while they're running. Otherwise, you get the chunks in here and plug up the valves, but that smaller stuff does accumulate and break off. So the picture on the left shows the eggs are a little bit lower, you may not be able to see, lights are a little brighter, but once we go through and adjust those and get those cleaned out, that level comes back up. But as you can imagine, you know, it takes anywhere 5 to 10 minutes per jar, and you have even 370 jars, it's a lot of time. So we're constantly going through those, as they're incubating. But the average incubation time is 21 days. Saw some action in like 18 days this year. By the way, most of the eggs are gone and hatched, it's stocked out, just have another tank left. Waiting for one hatchery to pick up some pride and go to their facility for pond stocking. So stocking by trucks, boat, this year because of the flows, and we had some boat issues, we were just stocking Striped Creek and letting it naturally flow out into the lake. Other species, the lake sturgeon, last year we saw record heat, and we had no control over our water temperature, so we saw 82-degree water temperatures in June, which is a record high for us. And even lake sturgeon don't like that temperature, so our endangered species person in Albany, Lisa Holtz, said that this looks to be another hot year, so they made the decision to allow the federal fish hatchery in Genoa, Wisconsin, the Yarrow Lake Sturgeon hatchery. They're actually going to take the eggs and raise the fish there, just so we don't have to worry about losing them. They'll bring them to size. They'll bring them back to New York. We'll pick them up and stock them out. So we won't have any sturgeon with the hatchery this year. We still have a few in our display tanks in front of the hatchery, so you can come and see a few sturgeon. Tiger muskellunge program is taking another turn. We typically get fry from Pennsylvania. We have a nice relationship with them. We drive down there, pick up some nice 2-inch fry. We've already converted. Fish loss is minimal. We put them in tanks, boil them up, and stock them out. They were cutting the program, so New York decided we were going to that and Tiger muskellunge and Northern Pike and make the cross ourselves. They had a pretty good success. You know, as it sits now, we currently have 36,000 fry on hand. Our target this year is only 34,000. I say only, it used to be 90. That was cut back to 34,150. Those are going to 90 for bodies of water. So I suspect that we're going to have a loss in the first year. So whenever you're tossing 2 different species and they're going to hybrid, and outcome isn't generally that fantastic, but so far we're doing great. So the species reared this year are the walleye fry. We ended up with 165 million fry, which was actually a 91% survival rate, which was shocking to me because generally for the first year spawning of fish, their survival the eggs aren't all that great, so their survival isn't as high, maybe as a 2-year-old or second or third year spawner. Part of that maybe because we were able to consolidate them all into a certain number of racks so that we treat those eggs with formalin on that fungus, and we have a certain limit to our discharge permit of the chemical we can put it in the stream. So we generally treat one half one day, one half the other day. So each jar of eggs is being treated every other day. Each half of the eggs is being treated every other day. This year we were able to treat all of them each day, and that may have contributed to such a very good survival rate. So overall, we are only 25% reduction in stocking. So that's not too bad compared to what we're seeing. I mean, you know, flooding, I don't know what, how, why. Speaking with Cornell folks, we had plenty of water. Water temperature came up at the creek really nice, but we never really saw a big influx of fish from the Striped Creek. I heard from multiple people, where's all the fish? Where's all the fish? We saw them, but not really in there. And we saw maybe 70% or so of the fish in Striped Creek that, you know, typically you can walk across the creek up at the dam. So I don't know if the flood waters from the South Shore getting warmer, definitely. I don't have the answer. But we didn't quite get as many fish as I'd like to have gotten. But again, good survival, so not lost by any stretch of the imagination. Other hatchery news. I mentioned the warm water several times. It's our biggest nemesis is the hot water, and we do have 2 wells drilled on the property. They're investigating investigating developing them right now, we'll put it off gas and tower. Hasn't plumbed in the building, that won't happen this year, hopefully next year we'll have cool water going in the building, and we'll be able to get back on track. That's pretty exciting, as far as fish culture goes, we can somewhat control the temperature water, it's a game changer. We got a new stocking truck, 2-tank stocking truck, aluminum tanks, beautiful trucks, work fantastic. And then just on a personnel note, my assistant, Andy Nowakowski, and myself are eligible for retirement, and he's gonna go in the spring sometime. So he's supposed to be probably, so there's only 4 permanent employee at fish catching, so the top 2 head out. Maybe some issues recruiting and whatnot, but, I'm sure they'll take care of it. There's a lot of people willing, looking to get into the hatchery system. We actually have a couple, people there now, seasonal employee, one, he's had a college degree and he qualifies for a permanent position, so he should fit in there nicely. We have a couple other trying to volunteer here and there, they're really interesting, so, yeah, should be all right. But, that's all I have for you tonight. I appreciate it again, everybody. Any questions? I want to get this next slide here, guys. Where's this thing? Oh. You know what? I deleted that slide. Oh, no. So, oh, it's right there. The DEC, the website, I'm sorry. So for anything DEC related, go to www.dec.nyc.gov. All right, and of course, you call Ashley anytime. Thank you very much. Oh, Bill,
If time for one or two
oh,
questions.
two? Yeah.
You got zebras in there?
So the creek, specifically, they have not found zebra mussels in the creek. So the water is really soft. When we bring our nets in from the lake, we wash them out in the parking lot right there.
One question, when I could just, with that.
Yeah.
Down, both this year, they got the zebras, the more further than what's the way in.
Yeah,
They can't stock any of those fish.
correct.
Just the water.
Correct.
That's what my question was. So you
Yeah.
have,
No, and then the thought is that the water's too soft to strive it for them, and for the young to actually get established. Yeah. And we got, concrete dam is a good substrate for them to grow on. We have all kinds of sources when we check our dam levels. We're always looking for zebra mussels, and we have yet to see them.
Yeah, any color at all on why the fish are small and the numbers are down?
Any ideas why the fish are small and the numbers are down? I'm sure Cornell will have all the answers you need, because they are the premier. All right, yes, all right, yes, and they'll be speaking shortly. All right, thank you very much.
Always great to hear from the hatchery. Next up, we have an update from the Law Enforcement Division of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. So if any of you out there have lots of warrants, this is the time to sneak out. Please welcome Lieutenant Mark Polisante. How's everybody doing tonight? So we've had a lot of changes recently in Region 7 in law enforcement. Just recently, Neil Stevens, who was the captain of Region 7, got promoted to major. He's now in charge of our bureau, our investigators across the whole state. So we promoted from within, and Matt Foster made captain. He was supervising Portland, Shenango, Madison, all 3. So he's now the captain. He wasn't able to make it tonight. But I'm here and I'm here to talk mostly about what we've been doing on the lake enforcement wise. But with changes, we're down to 2 lieutenants. So now, Wilbur now supervising Oswego County, myself who supervise Onondaga and Cuyahoga counties, are now supervising the entire state. So we're covering the entire region. So we're covering, we have to supervise a lot more guys than we usually do. So guys and girls. So we're gonna be busy. It's gonna be a busy summer for Will and I. We also have, we're gonna have a bunch of new faces. We have a CAD meeting session right now. And when it's over in September, after they get done with their field training, all of the counties that are touching the lake are gonna be getting new employees, so. You're gonna see some new faces, some new blood, and that's always a good thing. So as far as what we've been doing, we're always working on Nine Lake, obviously, it's one of our, it's our, probably our busiest body of water. You know, it's bigger than Clear Lakes, where I do a lot of my supervision. It's amazing. I've been on almost every body of water in Region 7, and on a weekday, if you go out on Cayuga Lake, for example, and run the whole lake, you're not gonna see a percentage of fishermen that are on that lake, so. It's obviously a priority for us enforcement wise. Obviously, we run a lot of details on that lake, because it's, because of what I just said, how busy it is. And, this year, the spring detail that we had, where we're out focusing on closed waters, hasn't been that productive, mostly, I think, because of the weather. Pretty bad weather, and, it's been an evolution. When I first started as supervisor on the South Shore, I started running the detail on those closed waters over there, and we were writing a lot of tickets to people. A lot of them didn't know that the waters were closed, because there's so many tributaries, and a lot of it's not posted well. And we were writing 50 tickets, about 50 to 60 tickets in the first couple of years. The last 2 or 3 years, we hardly written any tickets to people fishing both ponds. So, taking care of that problem, at least, done a pretty good job at curtailing the people fishing the 12 waters. Last year, we had a huge uptick in people taking walleyes, but a lot of it was on the lake shore. So when we're out on the detail, we're not just patrolling the trips. We're also patrolling the lake shore. We had a lot of people that were keeping walleyes under the 81 bridge. We had a couple interesting cases where people were catching them, running them up, putting them through holes in the fences, and then their spouses or lookouts would come and pick them up on, right on 81, stopping there and go. So we made a couple of those cases, which was good. Then this year, after making like 10 of those cases, we haven't had hardly any of those cases at that location or any of the other spots. So it's kind of an evolution. We call it, it might be, we sometimes say it might be time to shut the detail down and let it go to seed and then come back and revisit it in a little while, because we got a lot of guys out there. It's good to have a visible presence, but we're not being all that productive. Right, so maybe we'll give it a break for a year and come back to it. We also have started doing something new recently with doing like lake-wide details. We started doing that last year, so we'll take a weekend and we'll have each county provide officers, each county that touches the lake and go out. For example, this year we did it on a weekend in the winter for an ice fishing detail. And, included Region 6, which is Oneida County, and every other county in Region 7 that touches. We had 2 or 3 officers from each county, a couple working the spots and shore, checking the parking lots, or even the DEC fishing access sites and other popular areas that aren't DEC access sites. Then we have, a couple snowmobiles on each side of the lake going out and hitting all the ice fishermen. And if any of you guys are ice fishermen this year, I'm sure you got checked several times. It was good to have ice, and it was something to keep us busy during the winter. We did make a lot of cases. We made quite a few short walleye cases, and I myself was out there quite a bit and noticed that the fishing was pretty good. It was really good for perch. You can see it, and almost everybody that was fishing perch was catching an occasional, 1 or 2 walleyes. We've been doing a fall detail as well, lake-wide, which includes every county, and this fall, we brought up a new to us boat, that's usually stationed on Cayuga Lake. It's called a Warthog. It's like a 32-foot boat, but it can get really shallow, and I was really impressed with it. I was on a detail both nights because they like to put me out there because I know the lake well enough to not run into the shoals, and ruined the boat. So, I happened to be out there, got to see our guys doing really good work firsthand. We made a really good case, caught a guy that we kind of been after for years on the South Shore. It happened to be just, we patrolled the entire perimeter of the lake, this big boat, it's got an enclosed cabin, it's heated, so it's more comfortable. And it doesn't matter whether it's big waves or small waves with that boat, so. But it also doesn't draft any water, so you can get in really shallow. We were cruising along shore, happened to see just a little rowboat just pulling up on the shore. And I was worried that we wouldn't be able to get that big boat in the shore. We were able to get, the captain was able to get the boat in so I could step off on the land, so it was really impressive. The guy he ended up having like 11 walleyes and I think 5 or 6 of them short. So, and that's a guy we got the plates on in the past. So that was a good case. We made a few more cases on the boat that weekend, and the guys at the shore obviously did the same. So it's good. I think it's good to get everybody involved, and I know the guys, we bring guys in. We also bring guys in from counties that don't touch the lake. It's good to get everybody a piece of the pie. It's such a busy lake, and it's exciting for them to. Some of these guys worked in Chenango County, they barely had any water, right? So they're, but they also worked in Long Island when they started for 2 years and love to get out on the water. So it's good to get them out there, and we're gonna try and continue, we're gonna keep doing these details and doing the best we can. Couple new things, we're getting a new boat in Oswego County, and as far as I know, I think it's the first brand new boat that we've had in many years, like since 2006 in upstate. We get new ones in Long Island and New York City, but and on the Hudson River, but we don't get a lot of new boats upstate. So we're getting a new boat that's gonna be on my lake, most likely at 43 North Green. So that'll be good. We've also been using some new technology. Well, it's not new, but it's the drone. We started to use drone to patrol closed waters using thermal imagery. It's kind of neat. We've been using it up on the Salmon River to catch people fishing after dark. If you're not allowed to fish after dark, same thing here with the closed waters. Started off, we couldn't really use the drones if we were flying in private property, and we were using it, in that Cicero Swamp area last year, but this year we were able to get permission to fly over the navigable parks as long as we could access the river. So we didn't make any cases, but it was pretty cool, and it's gonna work for sure in the future, no doubt. We're gonna have some boats out there this weekend. Obviously, it's opening weekend. We have to share the turkey opener now. They changed that. So we will have people out in the morning, check the turkey hunters, then we'll have people on the water too. Should have them out there all day on Friday and the weekend. So hopefully we get some decent weather and there's some boats out there. That's about all I got. If anybody has any questions, I can try and answer them. All right, thank you, Lieutenant, and we thank all your fellow women and men in the service as well. All right, at this point, please welcome Tom Brooking with a fisher's report from the Cornell Field Station at Shackleton Point. And then following Tom's report, we'll transition directly to an update on the walleye telemetry project, very cool project by Cam Davis. So hold your questions until the end of those two, and then hopefully we'll have time for a couple of questions after that. Tom?
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna report on the fish surveys of Lanai Lake. This is similar to the report we had last year. I want to thank all the people that have helped on this. I don't do all the work myself, but it's a really good crew, and without that, it wouldn't be possible. So just what I'm going to talk about quickly, we're going to talk a little bit about water quality and bedding invertebrates that we do some work on.
We'll go into the walleye population, I'll talk about them. We'll give you some graphs on the yellow perch population. We'll touch quickly on white perch, populations of largemouth and smallmouth bass. We'll go through lake sturgeon and round gobies. And we'll talk a little bit about cormorants, and we did a creel survey this year. We interviewed a lot of you, and I'll give some results on the angler catch rates. So to start off, we've been looking at the water temperatures and the duration of ice cover. You've all heard about global warming. We're measuring that right here on Oneida Lake. The water is getting slightly warmer in the summer. So we've measured an increase in summer water temperatures. And as if you're an ice fisherman, you know that the ice fishing seasons have gotten short. So the average duration of ice cover has decreased. This is a measure of the nutrients and the phosphorus in the lake. So the, let's see, the blue line is the soluble phosphorus. The red line is the total phosphorus. And the green line is nitrogen. You can see that there was a decrease after the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreements early in the 90s. And since then, when zebra mussels came in, the amount of nutrients went down because the zebra mussels filter the water. We've seen a little bit of a rebound and then a little bit of a decrease, but it stayed fairly level over the past couple decades. This is a measure of the water clarity and the chlorophyll, which is the green stuff in the water. The blue line is what we call a second disc that measures how clear the water is. And you can see that in the 90s, when zebra mussels came in, the water got a lot clearer. It's been maintained fairly well since then. It's been pretty clear. We've seen a small decrease in the water clarity as some of the zooplankton have gone down, which allows the chlorophyll. This is the graph of the number of zebra and quagga mussels in the lake. As you know, there's quite a few. The black lines, the black bars are zebra mussels. They came in about 1992. In about 2008 or so, we started seeing more quagga mussels, which are a cousin of the zebra mussels. So I kind of switched to quagga mussels. They have decreased since gobies came in. So round gobies eat quagga mussels and zebra mussels. And you see a little decrease there around 2018, 2019. But since then, we still have quite a few quagga mussels. The zebra mussels have come up a little bit, but they've been maintained at that level. This is a graph of the zooplankton in the lake. So the red line is the amount of Daphnia zooplankton. That's what a lot of the fish eat. You can see the Daphnia levels have been going down quite a bit recently. That's concerning. So far, it looks like the other types of zooplankton have made up for that. That's the blue line. So the total biomass of zooplankton hasn't decreased tremendously. So even though we're worried about the Daphnia, we think that it's been made up for by the other zooplankton. So Chaopteris is bantam midge. They're a tiny little midge that hatches in the summer. Chaopteris has been becoming much more abundant the last 4 to 6 years. And we see them in our net tows, we see them in bottom samples. So that's probably having an effect on the lake. Mayflies. You have all seen mayflies in January near the lake in June and July. They have a big hatching, lasts about 2-3 weeks. We measured hexadenia, which is the type of mayfly. They've become much more abundant in the past about 6 or 8 years. They used to be very abundant back in the 50s and 60s. Then they disappeared for a long time, and now they're back. We think that has a big effect. It's really good food for fish. A lot of the young fish eat them, and when they hatch, they protect a lot of the young fish from getting eaten because the bigger fish eat mayflies instead. All right, we'll move on to some fish work now. So the walleye population, every 3 years or so, we do what's called a marked recapture population estimate. So we go over the hatchery, we fin clip, This past year, we did almost 13,000 walleye and pin clip. Then we go out and we check over the summer to see how many walleye in the lake have that pin clip. We checked 26, almost 2,700 walleye over the summer and fall. We collected them from electrofishing, gill nets, trawls, trap nets. We captured 57 fish that had a fin clip. So if we stick that into our equation, our estimate is that there are 603,000 walleye adults, and that's age 4 and older, in the lake this past summer. So if we take that number and we put it on our long-term walleye graph, okay? So the red line is an index that we calculate from our gillnet catch of the population. And the blue line is the estimate that we calculate from mark recapture. And most years those agree pretty well, and some years they don't. So as you can see, our estimate for 2025 there, the 600,000, there's 2 white points on the far right of that graph. Those are our projections for 2026 and 2027. And that's based on the number of young fish coming into the population. And we measured the young fish in October as age 0s, which is the red line. And we measured them again in the spring on May 1st, and that is the blue line. And you can see that the past 2 or 3 years, we've had 1 or 2 good year classes and 1 or 2 not so good year classes. Now you heard Bill talking about all the young fish in the lake that are recruiting to age 4 spawning population. The last 2 you see there, the 2026, that's the number of age 3s from last year that are coming into the age 4 population this year. And you can compare that, there's 330,000 is our estimate. So all those young fish that Bill's seeing, that's fantastic news for us. I know you guys get excited when you see great big walleyes. We get excited when we see little ones because we know that's the next couple of years production. This is the walleye length at age. So we measure how fast they grow. So the older fish are age 5 and age 7. That's the green line and the red line. Their growth has been down the past couple of years. We attribute that probably to lower numbers of gizzard shad, and they're eating gobies, which are a little less caloric content than yellow perch. So the growth has been going down a little bit for the older fish. We're not too concerned about that yet because we're still in the range that we've seen in the past years. So I don't think it's a problem. The younger fish, age 1 and age 2, are in the purple and blue lines. And you can see that they've been growing really well. They eat a lot of gobies. They've had perch to eat. So the young fish seem to be growing pretty well. This is the walleye diet. So when we collect fish in our nets, we take diet samples on them. You can see the green. The green is gizzard shad. They've been down the past 3 to 5 years. Okay, there's been fewer shad. This year there was a little more shad, and we saw them in the diets. They still like to eat lots of yellow perch. They eat some brown gobies, and they eat a bunch of different species as well. As you've heard and you saw some posters, we have a telemetry project going on. We have receivers placed all across the lake, and then we tag 200 plus walleye. I'm not going to say a whole lot about that because there's a presentation coming up next. Karen Davis is going to give us a full talk on the walleyes, but here's just a couple example graphs of where we've seen walleyes move over the course of the season. And it varies. We get some fish that like to stay in South Bay the whole time. We get some fish that go back and forth across the lake, North Shore, South Shore. It's varied. So Cam's going to really fill you in on that. I'm going to move on to the yellow perch population. This is our prediction of the number of yellow perch in the lake. You can see that the past 2 to 3 years, we've seen record numbers of yellow perch almost. There's been very high yellow perch populations. We predicted the population again this year is down slightly, but it's still well above the long-term average. So even though it's down a little bit, there's still a lot of perch in the lake. And if you can see the two gray points all the way to the right on that graph, that's our predictions for 2027, 2026 and 7. And we project that based on the young fish coming up, the population is gonna stay right about the same. So it should be good perch fishing again. The yellow perch young fish, this is, the blue line is larval fish, they're only about a 1/4 inch long. We go out and sample them each spring, and then the red line is the October H0s. And you can see the past 2 to 3 years, there haven't been a huge number of young perch. So that's why we predict the population is gonna stay about the same. We measured the number of age 2 yellow perch that we catch in our gill net. And we consider the adults age 3 and older, that's kind of what you guys like to catch. So we measured the number of age 2s, and you can see the last 2 years, it's been still above average, but a little bit lower than that big peak we saw a couple years ago. So there's still good numbers of age 2s that are recruiting into the adult yellow perch population. This is the yellow perch length at age. This is how well the perch are growing. The red line on the top is the age 5 yellow perch. That's kind of the ages that you guys like to catch. They're growing very well. And the interesting thing is that even though the perch population is high, they're still growing very well. They have a lot of food. The yellow perch eat some gobies. They eat lots of mayflies. They eat all kinds of different insects and benthic organisms. So they have a lot of food. They're doing really well. The young age 2 perch also seem to be growing really well. So perch are doing great. White perch. As you can tell, back in the early 2000s, we had a very high population of white perch. That probably affected a lot of other fish in the lake. They ate a lot of larval fish. The red line is the adult catch of white perch. You can see that it's been going down the past 3 to 4 years, and that continued again this year. The blue line is the number of age 0 white perch, the young fish, and we haven't seen many age 0 white perch the past couple of years. That explains why the adult numbers are starting to go down. So white perch are not nearly as abundant as they used to be. Largemouth bass. So this is adult largemouth bass. We catch them by electrofishing and also by trap net. And you can see the populations have bounced around a bit, but they still seem to be maintained at about the same levels we've seen over the past decade or so. We do beach steining, which catches inshore fish, and we use that to catch largemouth bass young in the year, age 0s. This is our estimate of age 0 catches, and you can see that in 2025 it jumped up there a little bit, so we have a pretty decent amount of young largemouth bass from 2025. Smallmouth bass are a little bit different story. This is our gill net catch of adult smallmouth bass. You can see that 2025 was the lowest catch in 42 years. Population has been going down, as we've shown in the past couple of years. That's the adults. The smallmouth bass young from our beach steining catch have been very low the past 6 or 7 years, and they haven't been very high for 10 or 12 years. That probably explains why the adult numbers are going down. There's also been some diseases issues the past decade or so, and we've got a high walleye population as well, which can prey on the young bass. This is our trawling. We go trawling and catch young of the year bass as well. You can see back in the 90s and 2000s, we caught large numbers of young of the year smallmouth bass. The past 6 years, we've caught very, very few. So they've been extremely low. I'm gonna move on to lake sturgeon. That's a pretty nice fish there. I know a couple of you have caught them. This is our adult sturgeon net catch. Okay, so if you just add up all those bars, those are different mesh sizes. The sturgeon catch has been maintained. They've continued stocking. We have seen a few wild fish over the past 10 years or so. We get a couple of them every year. They're probably spawning in the tributaries. The largest sturgeon we caught was 159 pounds. That was back in 2021. That was 5 years ago. So that fish that was almost 160 pounds, 5 years more growth, they're pushing 200 pounds already. This is our estimate of round gobies. We do them a couple different ways. We look at a video survey for round gobies. We go out and do videos at a bunch of different sites across the lake. Our estimate of round gobies for 2025 is that they're down a little. They're still very abundant. They haven't gone away, but they are down a little bit from the past 2 years. And we also look at the catch of gobies in our other years. We catch them trawling, we catch them seining, we find them in fish diets. And if we take the average of all those years, again, it says 2025, they were down a bit, but they haven't gone down too much. We also do surveys for gizzard shad and emerald shiners. The gizzard shad populations, as I said, have been down. They were much more abundant in the mid-2000s and 2010s. The past 4 or 5 years, they've been down, but they're not gone. We saw a decent number this year, not huge numbers. They're not anywhere near the population of gizzard shad that we used to have. Emerald shiners, on the right there, have gone way down. The past 3 years or so, 4 years, we've seen very few emerald shiners. We don't know why that is specifically. The zooplankton has been down. There's a lot of gobies they may be competing with. We don't know for sure, but the emerald shiners are way down. You guys are all interested in cormorants. Cormorants eat a lot of fish, as you know. These are the cormorant counts. These are collected by Region 6 and Region 7 DEC personnel while they're out doing their harassment. This is over the course of the summer. So you can see the first half of the summer, they keep cormorants very low. They harass them. They try and limit the number of nests. About August 1st every year, we start to get the migrant populations. They come from Lake Ontario and up into Canada. And that's when the populations really explode. You can get 600, 700, 800 flocks of birds on the lake. And we look at the diets of the cormorants. This is the number of feeding days. So we add up how long the cormorants are there and how many there was each week, and we estimate the number of feeding days. And as you can see, it's been creeping up. Back in the 2005 to 2009, we had APHIS federal bird control on the lake. They were keeping the cormorants very low. And since now we're just doing harassment from DEC, it's been creeping up a little bit. They're doing a great job. They're trying to keep those populations low. But once those migrant flocks come in from other places, they just chase them around the lake. It's really hard to get rid of them. These are the cormorant diets. We measure them every year. We looked at 270 birds this year, over 1,200 diet items, and they ate 15 different species. You can see in the yellow is the yellow perch in the diet. This is by weight. Yellow perch were the most abundant fish in the cormorant diet by weight. Next after that was walleye. They eat a fair number of walleye. They don't eat as many walleye, but the walleye are bigger. So as weight wise, the walleye is the second most abundant. They do eat a lot of round gobies, but they're tiny. So it doesn't fit much in their diet. They eat gizzard shad when they're abundant, but you can see that the gizzard shad have been down the past 4 to 6 years. So they're eating less. Okay, we did a creel survey out there. We probably interviewed a lot of you people. During the summer, we interviewed 1,500 boats, and that was close to 3,000 anglers in the interview. We interviewed people at the boat launches. We did 290 interviews at the boat launches of 516 anglers. We did ice fishing interviews. We did 465 interviews, which we estimated to be 853 anglers. This is the targeted walleye angler catch rate. Okay, we've done these surveys in the past. This year, 2025, had the highest catch rate per angler of any of the past surveys that we've done. So the fishing was very good. You guys seem like you're catching a lot. I look at the Facebook pictures and it seems like there's a lot of fish on there. That's the walleye catch rates by anglers. The smallmouth bass angler catch rates does not look like my graph is showing up. Let's just check that. There it is. No. Back that up. Yeah. Gotta have a little limit here.
I wouldn't be an OLA meeting without it now. There you go.
All right, so here are the smallmouth bass angler catch rates from that creel survey. You can see that the catch rates in the mid 2000s are fairly high. They've gone down a little bit, and in 2025, the catch rate of all anglers catching smallmouth bass was as low as we've ever seen. Okay, at least back through 1995. So that matches with the population estimate. We asked each angler we interviewed for their zip code. This is a map of the distribution of the angler zip codes that we talked to this summer. You can see on the New York State map, there's a lot of local anglers. There's also a lot of anglers that come across the thruway from Rochester, Buffalo, Albany. There's a good number that come from Watertown and even down towards Binghamton. If you look at the United States map, you can again see that local northeast population of fishermen that fish the lake. There's also a bunch of dots down through the eastern states. Looks like there's a bunch of snowbirds that come up from Florida. Maybe that's some of you guys. There's a couple dots even out as far as Texas and Washington. So we do get a lot of people that use this lake that come from out of state. And that's pretty important if you're selling gas, hotels, food and everything. It's a big producer. Holy shore. As part of our creel survey, we count the number of boats that you see on Oneida Lake. These are our boat counts from May through October. You can see that on some days there's in excess of 100 fishing boats. So we try and differentiate between fishing boats and pleasure boats. If it's a Baja cigar boat, try not a fishing boat. So these are our counts of fishing boats. On average, there's probably 40 plus fishing boats most days. It's a little higher on weekends, it's a little lower during the week. This is our ice fishing daily counts. All right, if you look at the scale over there, there was a couple days, there was 900 plus people ice fishing this lake. So this was a good year, we got good ice. We had a very popular ice fishery this year. So in summary, the walleye population numbers are expected to remain right around 600,000, fairly stable for the next couple of years. The yellow perch populations have come down slightly, but they're still well above average. And smallmouth bass populations have been decreasing. That's all I have. If anyone has any questions, we can take them now or after. Good time. Yes.
You seen any VHS outbreaks of any of the fish population?
Not recently. We haven't, last year, there's very few reports of disease. That's good, yes.
Are you trying to reintroduce sturgeon?
Why are we trying?
Yeah.
So sturgeon used to be very abundant in the Great Lakes. Sturgeon are the fish that produce caviar, which is sturgeon eggs. And they were over harvested for caviar, they almost went extinct. So we're stocking, the DEC is stocking sturgeons, trying to rebuild their populations, keep them from going extinct, number one, and build them up. And hopefully if they get abundant enough someday, they could open a fishing season. Any other questions I can take? All right, thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Cam. I'm going to be providing a quick update on some of the preliminary results we're seeing right now in 2016. For those of you not familiar with how acoustic telemetry works, we use these acoustic transmitters or tags that emit a unique high frequency signal at a program. In our case, we're using tags that are about the size of a AA battery. We emit that signal every 4 minutes. We surgically implant them within adult walleye and release them throughout the lake. Out in the lake, we have these acoustic receivers that are stationary and out there constantly listening to the signal put off by these tags. And we know that when fish are within about half a mile of these receivers, the receiver will pick up the signal from that tag, record the unique ID from that tag, and the time stamp and the date that it was recorded there. So that map up in the top right-hand corner gives you an idea of the detection coverage we have in the lake right now. So if the tag walleye is in any one of those yellow circles, we expect to pick up our receivers. So understanding where and when fish are located in the lake is super helpful for answering some really interesting. Specifically for our walleye pilot study, we're interested in identifying spawning habitats that adult walleye are using throughout Oneida Lake, documenting their seasonal habitat use and swim patterns, and providing minimum harvest rates of these adult walleye via tags returned to us from anglers. And just so you understand where we are, this project, that star represents where we are today. This project began in 2023. We tagged our first 103 fish from all over the near shore of Oneida Lake in the fall of that year. We released them right where we caught them with the idea of we'll see where they go to spawn in the spring. The following spring in 2024, we tagged 105 fish at the hatchery, so thanks Phil for all your help with that. We've had 2 data downloads up to this point, and we've replenished tags in the fish as we get them back from anglers. At this point, we have a little over a year and a half of data collected and a little over 12 million fish observations collected. You can see we have 2 more data downloads coming in the future, so we'll still have some data coming down the pipeline. But going back to that first objective of identifying spawning locations, in 2024, we had 85 of those fall tag fish that were confident still alive during the spring spawning period. And looking at their movements, we think that 19% of them likely spawned in Scribe Creek, 9% in Fish Creek down in the east end, 4% in Chittenango Creek, and 68% of them did not enter a tributary and remained in the lake during the spring spawning period. In 2025, we had 50 of those fall tag fish that were confident were still alive. We saw 34% of them likely spawned in Striped Creek, 12% in Fish Creek, 6% in Chittenango Creek, and 48% of them did not enter a tributary or remained in the lake during the spring spawning period. To try and identify where in the lake these fish might be spawning, we use a map like that one pictured in the top right-hand corner, where we've quartered off areas that have suitable substrate and depth for walleye spawning. I'm looking at the amount of time they spend there, as this gives them the most chances to spawn. The areas where they spend the most time seem to be the west end, the islands outside of Striped Creek and Stacked. But we're going to keep playing with this and see what this next data download provides. Moving on to the seasonal movements and habitat use. To do this, we calculated the core ranges for these fish. And so if you ever look at movement studies, you'll hear home range and core range thrown around a lot. Home range encompasses 95% of the fish's space use. But core range is a little bit more condensed than that. It focuses on 50% of their space use. It's really the areas they spend the most time. So for me, this is drag me home to work and back. For some of these fish, it's a little bit bigger than that. But these maps are created by mapping out those core ranges and overlapping each individual one on top of each other. So in these maps, dark purple shows 1 or 2 fish is core range present in that area. And the shift to the brighter yellows means more fish are overlapping in these areas. And so in the summer of 2024, we see a pretty wide dispersal of our tagged fish across Oneida Lake. We don't see a lot of the blue lake water behind that. So fish are present pretty much throughout the lake, but we do see some congregation of fish in the deeper waters kind of along the north shore there. In the fall, we still see a pretty wide dispersal of these tagged fish and some clustering kind of down in the east end of those deeper waters still, but also some fish starting to show up in the west end. In the winter of 2024, we saw a really strong push of fish down to the west end of the lake. And the amount of habitat they use is a little bit less. We expected this as walleye aren't quite as active in the winter as they are during the warmer months. And in the spring, we still see a pretty strong presence of fish down in the west end. They start to disperse a little bit, and maybe just your shore areas to spawn. But this is just 1 year of data. We'll see if these patterns continue in this next data down. Moving on to the harvest rate information. This is information we give provided to us from anglers who catch one of our tagged fish, call us and return that tag to us. As of today, we've tagged 239 adult walleye, and 49 of them have been caught, and those tags have been returned to us, which amounts to 21% of our tagged fish across the study. And when an angler catches a fish and calls us, we typically ask them a couple of questions. Like, what was the date you caught the fish? What kind of day did you catch it? Whereabouts in the lake did you catch it? Are you fishing from a boat, shore, or questions like that? You get some really cool information. This graph here shows the month fish have been caught and the time of day they've been caught. We've had 3 walleye caught through the ice at this point, all during daytime hours. Good news, no fish have been taken, or at least reported to us during the close season. And then you see the number of fish really start to take off during that open water season. It's a mix of day and nighttime caught fish there, but most of them are caught via boat angling. And then it appears catches kind of drop off late summer before the fall night bite really takes them. But if any of you are in the room, thank you for talking with us. We really appreciate your cooperation and interest in this. With that, I've got an animated slide coming up next. There's going to be a red dot moving around in Maggot Lake that represents the fish's daily story. And so this is a female we caught or we tagged at the Scribe Creek hatchery in March of 2024. And she's an example of a really mobile fish. You see in August, she does this really cool movement where she moves down to the mouth of the Oneida River in the west end. She takes 6 days, moves across the lake, enters the barge canal for about 2 weeks, then reemerges and moves all around the lake. But as Tom said, we have a wide variety of movement strategies. We have some fish that will mate in the same day year round, and we have fish like this who evaporate. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Thanks for your interest.
Dan? Really cool stuff. Thank you for sharing. Very good. All right, just a few more announcements. We'll start. President-elect Amy Hetherington has one more item she'd like to discuss.
Just quickly, I wanted to know, Matt, could you pull up the website? So thanks, Ben. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Pam. Everyone who presented. Yes. Yes, but I wanted to show you under publications there. Tom's presentation, that was sort of a summary. If you wanted to get more information, those 3 there, Oneida Lake Report 2025 is the Fisheries and Limnology Report that's produced by Cornell. So if you want the in-depth details, it's available there. You can download it. I talked about stakeholder engagement, and I just wanted to let you know that we're already making progress on that. So in partnership, OLA and Cornell, we produced the Oneida Lake Profile 2025. So I'm really pleased that that's out there. And this is more of a, I would say, friendly version. So it's a 16-page document. So it will take you some time to look at it, but it's in layman's terms. So it really breaks everything down, and it goes all the way from the history of Oneida Lake to the watershed and the fisheries and the limnology. And it talks about even the partnership between Cornell and OLA. And then lastly, the third one there is the Oneida Lake Trifold. Trifold is just another word for brochure. And we have it here. So on your way out, you can get it. But what we plan to do this summer is work with some of the interns and have the interns, at Cornell actually with the Creel survey and, Cornell Cooperative Extension go around and talk about Oneida Lake. So we produced this, we're also gonna distribute it to businesses around the lake, schools, churches, if you can think of anywhere else, townships. It has a link on the back that will take you to the, full Oneida Lake profile, so the 16-page document. But we're trying to make progress to engage stakeholders and get them more informed. Thanks.
All right, I'd like to invite Kate Fiorello to come up. She's going to talk about the Cicero, see if you can sure I get the name right. The Cicero Local Waterfront Revitalization Program. Kate?
Hi there, just wanted to say thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak about our LWRP. And like we just explained, it stands for the Local Waterfront Revitalization Program. So basically an LWRP, it's a state program and it's a vehicle to express the community's vision for the waterfront area. And then once the document is complete, it can be used to get some apply for some state funding opportunities. So Cicero's LWRP program actually started in 2018 in the hamlet of Brewerton. It is being expanded to include the entire town's lakefront all the way to Bridgeport. So we do have an advisory committee, which is meant to represent a cross section of the community, but it might be a little OLA heavy. We have Matt Snyder as one of our members, probably why I got to be here. I think Bill Howland is out there somewhere, and he's one of our members. And also I'm a member, and I'm a member because Judy Boyke, who was also a member of our advisory committee, signed me up when she knew I was going to be speaking tonight. And so for those of you who didn't know Judy, she passed away a few weeks ago, and we will miss her very much. And so the next step in our process, we're at the part where we want to choose the projects to include in our LWRP. So for example, the Brewerton streetscape that was constructed 2 summers ago was initially identified in the Brewerton LWRP, as well as one project identified was a walking path under the new bridge that is getting constructed. So because we had that in, even though the LWRP was only in a draft form, we were able to really plead with New York State DOT to install a walking path from Riverfront Park under the bridge to the east side of Route 11. And so having a document really helps get some funding and helps get some projects completed. So why am I here tonight? It's hopefully to get some input from the community. So this is the great angler community. So we realize a lot of you here may not be town of Cicero residents, but as users of Oneida Lake, your input is very valuable to us. And so you may provide some insight and have some ideas that we are not aware of. So I had out on the table, there's some flyers and they have a QR code that you can scan and take a quick survey. There's also some paper copies. If you do fill out a paper copy, if you don't see me and hand it into you, if you could drop it off at any of the Town of Cicero offices. It's also on the Town of Cicero Facebook page. And I can also share that with Matt, and maybe he can post it on the OLA website. So once all those ideas are collected and the committee meets again, projects will be selected, and then there will be a public meeting, probably in late summer, that will present renderings of all the selected projects and another opportunity for public input. So we're just hoping to get any good ideas that people have so we can make the most out of them. So thank you all very much.
Well, we appreciate being asked for input. That's great. A great community project. One of the fastest growing sports on our lake is paddling around in a kayak. So here to urge you to paddle with precautions is Michelle Stoddard from the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Everybody. Thank you for allowing me to talk to you today regarding the most upcoming type of water sport in the United States. Paddle sports. So it's kayaking, really would stand up paddle.
Can you come to Mike and you?
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, better?
Yep, awesome.
I am a certified kayak instructor through the American Crew Association, which is the governing body of anything paddle sports related. They do the Olympics, Paralympics, local whitewater events, things like that. I'm also a United States Coast Guard auxiliary specializing in paddle sports. I am based out of Silver Beach. You may have seen us in one of the things we do, the water ski show that's there that they shut down the canal for. We've done done some Silver Beach boat show. We've done some patrols out there with the ones with the right white shirts. I've been kayaking for over 30 years. And the ACA of the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary was the MVP. I'm very passionate about it because I have not lost one. I have lost 2 friends to drowning. And it's something that we need to stop. According to Cattle Magazine, believe it or not, over 30 million Americans took to the water in 2024. These are 2024 statistics, because the 2025 statistics are not yet from the Coast Guard. Total paddle sports fatalities 165, down from 183 to 23, but still 30% of all known vessel fatalities in recreational boating. Stand-up paddleboarding, 29 fatalities in 2024, up 164% from 11 in 2023. Kayaking, there were 89 fatalities, slightly down from 95 the year before. Canoeing was not 7 fatalities, more people are going to kayaks and stand-up paddleboards. The drowning accounted for 3/4 of all 556 recreational boating fatalities across the United States. 87% victims of burning chickens. Alcohol use, we know, contribute factor to fatal boating accidents. Most accidents occurred on lakes, ponds, reservoirs, dams, and gravel pits, especially in hot water, less than 6 inches away, with likely visibility. The early data from 2025, the American Whitewater Accident Summary, 25 was January to June, 25 fatal accidents were reported. 14 involved recreational kayakers, mostly in rivers with fast current and wild rapids. Of those 25 fatal accidents, 15 were not wearing life jackets. 7 of the deaths, people were boating low. Only 2 canoe accidents were reported in this period, again, because of the influx of kayaks. This suggests that even the first half of 2025, paddle sport has been a significant cause of boating fatalities with kayak leading reported deaths. Some of the things that are contributed to it, life jacket non-use is a major risk factor. These type mismatch, people using the paddle leashes on their hooking into their kayak, into their paddle. When they went to a stringer that would be caught, it was a 68-year-old woman who died about this time last year. That's exactly when they had her paddle leash got caught. The friends could not get her up because of the leash. Alcohol and solo paddling are associated with higher fatality rates. Again, going while intoxicated in a kayak, people like to argue that no, you can't. Yes, you can. Last year it was going down into towards First Creek, and we came across 5 paddlers. One of them had a cooler strapped to the back of the kayak that made it kind of like in this position, sitting back, just drinking the beer, just floating along. Kind of shuddered because then when they got to the end, they were going to climb in their car and drive home. As prices rise and families look for affordable water activities for themselves and their children, paddle sports is an economical way to have fun out of the water.
there's an increase of over 1 million new people per year taking up paddle sports. The rental kayaking stations at many of our parks are also an affordable choice. For a few dollars now, we're going to pay full setup, giving rent paddle, kayak, life jacket. Additionally, a family can walk into any Costco, Dick's Sporting Goods, PJs, and many other retailers and pick up a kayak, stand-up paddleboard. Again, with a full setup for a few $100s. The unfortunate problem with this is they go out on the water, ill prepared for the day of fun. Most newbies have less than 10 hours of time on the water. A good skills class can last a minimum of 4 hours. So they're not getting much training whatsoever. Boaters must take the boater safety class in order to operate a vessel with a loader out on the water. Paddlers do not. They do not know that they are bound by the same rules of the road as boaters are. They do not know the hierarchy of who has the right of way on the body of the water, and believe that because they are smaller in a human powered vessel, they automatically get the right of way. Any of you that are boaters know this is not true. You follow the rules and you felt the frustration when a paddler somewhere they don't belong interfering with the motorized vessel. As a paddle sports professional, there's an army of us diligent work to change this misconception. The American Canoe Association, in conjunction with the United States Coast Guard, have developed a program called Smart Start for Safe Paddling. This is a new boater safe class, but it is for paddle sports people. This program made its debut just a short months ago. And as an HCA instructor, we are working hard to give people the skills they need to not only instruct this program, but put it into action in various waterways, teaching everybody. Influencing paddler behavior is the main job in the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary and the Sports Division takes on each year. Any person that is involved in the paddle sports section of the auxiliary has to go through mandated training, meeting and/or exceeding the standards put forth by the American Canoe Association. This includes anyone you may talk to from the Coast Guard that is what we call shoreside, and like, for example, the Silver Beach Boat Show or anything like that. Anybody has to go through this training. Some of the main points we try to enforce are mandatory noise making device, carrying a whistle. How many of you picked up a whistle from me tonight? A lot of you. Properly fitted PFD for the activity. There are special life jackets for kayaking. There are special life jackets for stand-up paddleboard. Making sure that that fits you properly is huge. Make sure you're wearing your life jacket all the time, not just in the cold weather where it's mandated from November 1st to May 31st. Wear it all year round. Boat flips over, hits you in the head. You're really not a good swimmer when you're unconscious. Not drinking and paddling. As I said before, yes, we can get a boating while intoxicated, kayak or paddle sports. You dress for submersion, not the air temperature. We all know that we can get 80-degree days in March, but the water temperature is still 43 degrees. We use a 1-10-1 rule when we talk about hypothermia. Within the first minute, it's involuntary. Everybody's going to do it. The first thing you're going to do is take in a big breath of air. You don't have a life jacket on, that is not going to be air, it's going to be water. 10 minutes, you're going to lose all feeling in all your extremities as the blood rushes to save your vital organs. After 1 hour, we're no longer doing a rescue, we're doing a recovery. The other 4 rules that we like to talk about is the rule of ABC, anything but cotton, dress in water wicking layers. I spoke with a gentleman here who had a float suit on and was wearing wool underneath it. And even though his wool was wet, he was still warm because it just the fact it was not cotton. Staying hydrated, do not drink alcohol. Following the float plan. It's as simple as, hey, I'm going out kayaking with my buddy today. We should be back in about 3 hours. Never paddle alone.
always checking the weather forecast, because as we know on, especially out on Island Lake, the weather can change in a heartbeat. Learn what to do if your boat does capsize. Learn how to do self-rescue. A lot of people don't realize that kayaks, just like any power boat, has a weight capacity limit. If you're an angler from a fishing kayak, if you have a kayak such as this one over here, you've got it's got a pretty good weight capacity to it. Some of the ones that you go into, Dick's Sporting Goods, things like that, you pick up a $2.99 special, you load yourself in it, you load your fishing gear, you load everything into it. You're actually over the weight limit, because most of the ones that are out there, they're 8-10 feet long, and a weight limit of about 250 pounds. And this is one of the big ones that we also like to talk about, that as it relates to the OLA. Ensure that your gear is washed and rinsed to avoid introducing invasive species in Oneida Lake. They teach you in the boater safety course, 24 hours, wash your boat down, empty your dry wells. Same thing for a kayak. Need to do it for a canoe. The similarities between operating motorized vessel and a canoe sports vessel are eerily similar. Do you agree? Yes, before you ask, we are looking to change the law so everyone has to take some sort of similar class specifically for kayakers. Many of you are also fishermen that do so from a kayak or canoe. We've lost several people in the past 2 years with falling in the water without their life jacket on and dropped. They make the inflatable ones that are very, very comfortable. About 50, 60 bucks, you can get one. Is your life worth $50 to $60? In closing, safety is everyone's responsibility. If you don't think it can happen to you, it can. If you see something, say something. You know, reach out to the DEC, reach out to the Oneida County Sheriff's Marine Patrol, reach out to the Coast Guard Auxiliary. If something is unsafe, let us know. Together we can reduce the number of underwater deaths and continue to have these fantastic natural resources we have here in New York, and especially on Oneida Lake. So, thank you very much.
All right, in a few minutes, we'll actually be giving away this kayak. You see that it does indeed come with a PFD. Safety first, second, and third. All right, that concludes our program for the evening. Let's have one more round of applause for all our presenters. At this point, we're going to transition to our giveaways. We have some raffles here, so get out your raffle tickets. We're gonna give away some cool things. Do we have any kids up here that might want to help